For over a millennium, this single species of tree has sustained human life in one of the most unforgiving continents on the planet. It's become so important that it is simply known as the tree of life. And the reliance the people of Africa have on the baobab tree is hard to overstate. The tree is a vital water source, traditional medicine, and shelter, while for hundreds of other species of animals, birds, and insects, it's a keystone that is essential for life on the continent. The baobab possesses remarkable traits unlike any other. It can store 31,000 gallons of water inside its fire-resistant sponge core, expanding and contracting with the seasons, an evolutionary marvel that allows a single tree to have a lifespan of over 5,000 years. But today, the baobab is facing an impossible problem. In the northern tip of Madagascar, a species called Perrier's baobab has been reduced to fewer than 250 individuals, and in some locations, there are fewer than 10 mature trees left. So what's driving this extinction of Africa's tree of life? And more urgently, what is being done to save them? To appreciate the brilliance of the baobab, we need to travel to the semi-arid territories of the Indian Ocean basin. Here, there are 8 recognized species of baobab in the genus Adansonia. 6 of them are found only in Madagascar, 1 in mainland Africa, and 1 in the rugged northwest of Australia. To the western eye, they look unusual, almost upside down, as if their branches were roots reaching for the sky. But this strange anatomy is actually a masterpiece of survival. A mature African baobab can reach a diameter of 30 feet. It is not just a tree, it is an infrastructure. In the scorching summer, the bark is fire-resistant, while during the brief, violent rainy seasons, the baobab drinks. It pulls in immense quantities of water, swelling its trunk until it becomes a massive living reservoir. This stored water buffers the tree against the crushing heat of the dry season, allowing it to maintain metabolic activity when every other plant in the forest has shut down. Older trees often develop false cavities, not from rot, but from the fusion of multiple stems over hundreds of years. These hollows have served as shelters, granaries, and even sacred meeting places for human communities for millennia. In the Nuba Mountains of Sudan and the savannas of West Africa, the baobab is not just a plant. It is a keystone species that supports entire ecosystems. It is an apex species that supports a web of life, from the lemurs that eat its fruit to the bats that pollinate its flowers. But in 2005, something began to go wrong. Across Africa, the oldest and largest baobabs, trees that had stood for 1,500 to 2,000 years, suddenly began to die. 9 of the 13 oldest individuals and 5 of the 6 largest trees collapsed. They didn't die from a single disease or an axe. They died from the rapid, anthropogenic shift in our climate. The trees that had survived everything for 20 centuries finally hit a limit. You see, they are the canaries in the coal mine of the botanical world, and their collapse is a warning that our short-term lifestyle is colliding with forest time. Of all the baobabs, Adansonia perrieri is the one standing on the precipice. Restricted to the northern massifs of Madagascar, it is a dominant giant of the dry forest. Yet its reproductive biology is so fragile it seems almost impossible. The flower of Perrier's baobab is a pale yellow masterpiece that opens with such speed at dusk that the movement is visible to the naked eye. But it has a deadline. It fades and dies by the next morning. This gives the tree a narrow 15-hour window to be fertilized. To do that, the tree relies on a special partner, the long-tongued hawkmoth. In an intact forest, these moths move between the giants, carrying the genetic code from one ancient to the next. But as we fragment the forest, cutting down the companion species to make way for cattle grazing and charcoal production, the distance between the remaining baobabs grows. When the distance exceeds the flight range of the moth, the miracle stops. A baobab can stand in a field for 300 years, producing flowers every single season, but if no moth arrives, it produces no fruit. Scientists call this reproductive failure, or, more hauntingly, extinction debt. The tree is still there, looking majestic and immortal, but it is effectively the living dead. It is a genetic dead end, waiting for its clock to run out because there is no one left to carry its legacy to the next generation. To fight this extinction debt, conservationists have turned to high-resolution genomic mapping. They are not just counting trees, they are mapping survival. In northern Madagascar, researchers have been utilizing whole genome SNP analysis to look at the allelic phasing of the remaining populations. What they discovered was a paradox. Adansonia grandadieri, the most famous of the Malagasy baobabs, has a population of over 1 million trees, yet its genetic diversity is shockingly low, the result of an ancient bottleneck. In contrast, Adansonia suarezensis, a species with only 15,000 individuals left, has the highest genetic diversity in the entire genus. This means that suarezensis possesses a superior evolutionary toolkit. It has the hidden genetic variants needed to adapt to a warming world. But that toolkit is being eroded by inbreeding. In isolated coastal stands, the trees have no choice but to breed with close relatives. The seeds become less viable, the seedlings die in the heat. By mapping these genetics, conservationists are now performing assisted gene flow. They are identifying the most diverse anchor trees and manually moving pollen and seeds between isolated clusters to restore the species' health. They are acting as the hawkmoths that the modern world has driven away. But the most profound shift in baobab conservation isn't happening in a lab. It's happening in the classrooms of Madagascar. We have been conditioned to think of conservation in 5-year project cycles, the time it takes for a grant to run out or a political term to end. But the baobab laughs at 5-year cycles. A baobab seedling planted today won't even have its fire-resistant bark for decades. It won't flower for a century. This has led to the development of the 100-year conservation philosophy. Instead of state-run plantations that can be abandoned during the next political crisis, conservationists are establishing community-led seed orchards and school-run nurseries. In these programs, the children are the stewards. A 10-year-old student is given a baobab seedling to tend. They are taught the biology of the tree, but they are also taught the philosophy of forest time. They are told, quite clearly, you will never see this tree reach its full size. You will likely never eat its fruit, but your grandchildren will. By embedding the tree into the social fabric of the community, conservationists are creating a cultural continuity that outlasts any NGO. The schools provide a protected environment where the seedlings are safe from the annual fires set by cattle herders. By the time the student graduates, the tree is established. By the time the student is an elder, the tree is a landmark. By the time the student's great-grandchildren are born, the tree is a parent of the forest. This is conservation scaled to the rhythm of the Pachycaul. It is an admission that humans are newly arrived guests in a world of ancients, and that our only role is to ensure the continuity of a life force that spans millennia. Even as we struggle to save them on land, the baobab may have a secret backup plan hidden in its fruit. For years, scientists wondered how the Adansonia genus managed to disperse across the vast distances between Madagascar, Africa, and Australia. The answer may be marine hydrochory, the ability to travel by sea. New research on Adansonia madagascariensis has shown that baobab fruits can float in salt water for months without the seeds losing their viability. In fact, exposure to salinity actually improves germination for certain coastal species. The baobab fruit is essentially a botanical life raft, designed to be carried by ocean currents to new, uncharted coastlines. This natural ability to disperse by sea could be the species' ultimate escape hatch from climate change. As inland habitats contract and become too dry, the marine life rafts can colonize new tidal zones. But this only works if we protect the coastlines. If the beaches are covered in concrete and the coastal forests are cleared for resorts, the baobab's secret journey ends in a graveyard. The conservation of the baobab is not just about a plant, it is about human sovereignty. In many African cultures, the baobab is the tree of knowledge. Its leaves are a source of protein. Its fruit pulp has 10 times the vitamin C of an orange. Its bark provides the fibers for rope and cloth. When a community has a baobab, they have a pharmacy, a supermarket, and a water tank that no corporation can own. You cannot patent a 2,000-year-old tree. You cannot charge a subscription fee for the water stored in its trunk. The herbicide and industrial agriculture industries want you to see old growth as an obstacle to progress. They want uniformity, crops that ripen on schedule and can be harvested by machine. The baobab is the ultimate defiance of that system. It is irregular, it is slow, and it is free. When we lose the baobab, we don't just lose a carbon sink, we lose a companion species that has guided human evolution for 100,000 years. The Hadza of Tanzania, some of the last hunter-gatherers on Earth, view the baobab as the center of their universe. To them, the idea of owning a tree is as absurd as owning the wind. The story of the baobab is a reminder that some things on this planet are meant to outlast us. We are currently living through a temporal crisis, a world addicted to the now, to the instant notification and gratification of profit. The baobab is the antidote to this unhealthy pursuit of more. We must all come to understand that the sudden death of an ancient tree isn't just dead wood. It is a signal that the infrastructure of our natural world is fraying. So it is more important now than ever that we all collectively adopt the 100-year philosophy. Stop asking what the harvest will be for you. Start asking what the legacy will be for the people who will stand where you are standing 5 centuries from now. Plant the seeds that take a century to bloom. Protect the pollinators that only come out for 15 hours. Support the communities that see themselves not as owners of the land, but as stewards of a forest time that began long before we arrived and must continue long after we are gone. The Tree of Life is not a myth. It is a biological fortress that is waiting for a generation of humans brave enough to think in centuries instead of seconds. The immortals are calling. Let us make sure they do not stand alone. If this is a story that you feel relates to you, then please subscribe to Wildline and hit the bell. Every like and every share helps preserve this wisdom and ensures that the giants who cheat death are protected by those who honor life.